My name is Emma Caldwell. I'm 33 years old, a mother of one, and for most of my life I've been the kind of daughter people don't worry about. The easy one. The one who adapts. The one who never asks twice. If you'd asked me a year ago what my parents' love looked like, I would have said, reliable when convenient. I wouldn't have said it with bitterness. Just observation. Like noticing the weather. I learned early how to read rooms. How to soften my voice when someone else was louder. How to swallow disappointment so it didn't make anyone uncomfortable. My parents liked to call that maturity. I called it survival. My son, Noah, was turning 9 that spring. 9 is that tender age where kids still believe birthdays mean something sacred. Where candles aren't just wax and flame, they're wishes that feel real. Noah had already decided he didn't want a big party. He said loud places made his head feel busy. What he wanted was simple. My grandparents, he told me one night while brushing his teeth. Foam on his lip, eyes serious in the mirror. That's all. And maybe chocolate cake, he added, thoughtful. With my name spelled right this time. I laughed and promised him both. A week before his birthday, I was standing in the kitchen with my boyfriend Ryan, scribbling a grocery list. We'd planned something small. A picnic at the park near our apartment. A few close friends. Store-bought decorations. A cake from the local bakery that always piped letters a little crooked but tried their best. My phone buzzed on the counter. It was my dad. We can't make it this year. Money's tight. That was it. No sorry. No, we'll make it up to him. Just a period at the end, like the sentence didn't deserve more. I read it twice, then a third time, slower, like tone might appear between the letters. Ryan noticed my silence. Everything okay? I turned the phone toward him. He read the message, then looked back at me carefully. Not angry, not judgmental, just watching. They won't come, he asked. They say money's tight, I replied. The words felt rehearsed even as I said them. Ryan nodded once. Do you believe that? I opened my mouth to answer and stopped. Belief wasn't the right word. Habit was. They've had a rough year, I said instead. Rent's gone up. Stuff happens. Ryan didn't argue. He never did. He just went back to slicing fruit, giving me space to land wherever I needed to land. I texted my mom separately. You don't need to bring anything. Just come. Coffee's on me. A few minutes passed. Thumbs up. A thumbs up emoji. My mother's signature move. The lowest effort acknowledgement disguised as affection. I stared at it longer than I should have. Inside me, something shifted. Not breaking. Scraping. That quiet instinct that whispers when a story doesn't add up. But doubting my parents still felt like a kind of betrayal. Like questioning gravity. So I ignored the feeling. That night, Noah crawled into bed beside me, clutching his blanket like a treaty he was negotiating with sleep. Did Grandpa text back? He asked softly. I brushed his hair away from his eyes. He did. Is he coming? I hesitated. Just a beat. Just long enough. They might not, I said gently. They're having some money problems right now. Noah nodded, absorbing it with that solemn seriousness kids reserve for adult explanations they don't fully understand. Oh, he said. Then, after a moment, that's okay. I don't need presents. My chest tightened. You don't need to say that, I told him. I know, he replied. I want them there. I promised him we'd still have a good day. And I meant it. The morning of his birthday arrived bright and unapologetic. Sunlight poured through the kitchen window like it was trying too hard. Noah ate his cereal slowly, swinging his legs, debating whether to bring his sketchbook or his soccer ball to the park. Both, I told him. It's your day. While Ryan packed the cooler, I opened my phone without thinking. A reflex more than a choice. Instagram loaded. At the top of my screen, Lydia, my younger sister, was live. I frowned. Lydia didn't usually go live this early. I should have scrolled past. I know that now. But curiosity has always been my weakest muscle. I tapped, and the screen exploded into color. The live video buffered for half a second, just long enough for my stomach to drop. When the image sharpened, it wasn't subtle. It was loud. Too loud for a Tuesday morning. Bright inflatable walls filled the screen, yellow and blue, towering over a backyard I recognized instantly. My parents' backyard. The one with the cracked stone path, and the bird feeder my dad never cleaned. Children screamed with joy, their voices sharp and sugary. A bubble machine hissed somewhere off camera. Streamers fluttered like they were celebrating something important. Lydia's voice cut through it all, breathless and excited. Okay, look at this. Tell me this isn't amazing. The camera swung. A long table covered in themed cupcakes, custom toppers, matching plates, juice boxes arranged with care. A hired entertainer, some kind of costumed character, knelt to tie a balloon animal. My brain refused to assemble the pieces at first. It kept insisting this was coincidence. Old footage. A repost. Something explainable if I just waited long enough. Then the camera tilted again. And there was my dad, laughing. Not polite laughing. Not background smiling. Full-bodied laughter. Head thrown back. Hands occupied with a tray of cupcakes like he was exactly where he belonged. Behind him, my mom adjusted a banner strung across the fence. Happy birthday, Miles. Miles. My sister's youngest. My hands went cold. I didn't breathe. I didn't blink. I just stared, as if the screen might correct itself if I watched closely enough. Noah leaned into my side, his shoulder warm against my arm. Mom, he said. Is that Grandpa? The question landed softly. That's what hurt the most. Yes, I said. The word scraped on its way out. Oh. He leaned closer, squinting. Is that Grandma too? Yes. He watched for a moment, silent. Then quieter, like he didn't want to disturb whatever rule governed this moment, he asked, Is that why they can't come? Because they're busy. I swallowed. They said money was tight, I replied. Noah nodded slowly, his forehead creasing in concentration. He watched the screen again. The bounce house, the balloons, the cake so big it had layers. Does that cost money? He asked. I turned the phone face down. Yes, I said. It does. Ryan appeared in the doorway then, wiping his hands on a towel. He took one look at my face and stopped. What happened? I didn't answer. I just held the phone out. He watched in silence, his jaw tightening in increments I could track because I'd learned the language of his restraint. When the video ended, he didn't swear, didn't explode. He just exhaled through his nose and handed the phone back. That's a lot, he said carefully. I nodded, not trusting my voice. Inside me, something reorganized. Not anger yet, not sadness, recognition. The kind that settles like dust when you finally stop pretending the shelf didn't collapse. Noah tugged on my sleeve. Mom! I knelt in front of him, leveling our eyes. What's up, buddy? He hesitated. Did we do something wrong? The question hollowed me out. No, I said immediately. No, absolutely not. Then why didn't they pick us? There it was. The sentence every child eventually learns to ask when adults fail them quietly. I pulled him into a hug, his head tucked under my chin. They didn't pick against you, I said, choosing words like they were glass. They made a choice, and sometimes grown-ups make bad ones. He considered that, then nodded, accepting it because that's what kids do when they trust you to carry the rest. At the park, we performed Joy. Ryan grilled hot dogs. Friends showed up with folding chairs and grocery store gifts wrapped in superhero paper. Someone played music from a speaker that crackled on the high notes. Noah blew out his candles, while everyone cheered louder than necessary. I smiled until my cheeks ached. Every so often, I checked my phone. Nothing. No, we're on our way. No surprise. No apology. Just Lydia's replay, already saved to her highlights with a caption full of exclamation points and hearts. That afternoon, as the party thinned and the sun dipped lower, I felt the weight of all the allowances I'd ever made settle on my shoulders at once. Maybe they forgot. Maybe Lydia needed help more. Maybe I was overreacting. Except I wasn't new to this math. When we got home, Noah sat cross-legged on the floor, opening cards and lining up his gifts carefully, like order might protect him from disappointment. I went into the bedroom and closed the door. On my desk sat a folder I hadn't opened in months. Bank statements, email confirmations, the unglamorous paper trail of being the reliable one. I opened it. Rent transfers, utility payments, a loan for Lydia's car repairs, money labeled temporary that never circled back. My hands didn't shake. That was the strangest part. I realized then that my parents hadn't said money was tight. They'd said my money was, and suddenly, the lie wasn't loud anymore. It was obvious. That night, after Noah fell asleep with his new sketchbook tucked under his arm, The house went quiet in that fragile way it only does after disappointment. The kind of quiet that isn't peaceful yet, just waiting. Ryan rinsed the last of the dishes and glanced at me. "You don't have to carry this alone," he said gently. "I know," I replied, and I meant it, but there was something I needed to see with my own eyes first. I opened my laptop, not because I wanted proof, because I already had it, and I needed to stop pretending I didn't. I typed in the old shared email address, the one I'd used for years to help my parents stay organized. Rent confirmations popped up in a neat digital row, predictable as clockwork. Same amount, same date, month after month, $900, for 3 years. I scrolled slowly, my mind replaying every conversation that had framed these payments as temporary, as emergencies, as family helping family, groceries when Dad said his pension was delayed, utility bills during a rough winter, Lydia's childcare deposit when she just needed a little help getting back on her feet. None of it had ever been called support. It had been presented as duty. I pulled up my bank statements next, lining them up beside the emails. The numbers stacked on top of each other like evidence in a case no one wanted to prosecute. A familiar heat rose in my chest, not rage, not yet. Clarity. Ryan sat beside me without asking, reading over my shoulder. "That's the lot," he murmured. "It's not just the money," I said. "It's the lie." He nodded. "They didn't say they couldn't afford the party. They said they couldn't afford you." I closed the laptop slowly. That sentence landed cleanly. Too clean. I slept badly that night, drifting in and out of dreams where doors wouldn't open and voices came through walls but never reached me fully. When morning came, I felt hollowed out but steady, like something fragile had been replaced with something solid. I made Noah breakfast and watched him hum to himself, building a tower of toast triangles on his plate. He didn't mention his grandparents. Neither did I. Around 10, my phone buzzed. A message from my mom. Saw the pictures. Looks like a nice day. No mention of absence. No apology. Just commentary. I stared at the screen until the words blurred. Then, instead of replying, I did something I'd never done before. I stopped explaining. I opened a new email. Addressed it to my parents. CC'd the landlord, an email I'd had for years but never used directly. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, trembling not from fear, but from the unfamiliar feeling of not backing down. Subject line update. Short. Neutral. Undeniable. I didn't write a speech. I didn't justify myself. I'd learned the hard way that explanations are invitations to argue. I typed, "We will no longer be covering rent or additional expenses. Please update your records accordingly." I signed my name. I attached the most recent payment confirmation, not as leverage, but as a line drawn in ink. Ryan watched quietly. "You sure?" he asked. I thought of Noah's question. "Why didn't they pick us?" "I'm sure," I said. "I don't want him growing up thinking love is something you buy with silence." I hit send. For a moment, nothing happened. The world didn't crack open. The ceiling didn't fall. The quiet just shifted, like air finally circulating in a room that had been closed too long. I stood up and opened the hall closet. At the back, hanging on a hook, was a spare key on a blue ribbon. My parents' emergency key, given to them years ago just in case. I took it down, held it in my palm longer than necessary. Then I walked to the front door and slid the chain lock across for the first time since we'd moved in. The soft metallic click felt louder than any argument I'd ever had with them. That evening, Noah asked, "Are Grandma and Grandpa coming tomorrow?" "No," I said honestly. "Not tomorrow." He nodded. "Okay." That was it. No drama. No tears. Just acceptance that hurt more than resistance ever could. Later, after Noah went to bed, my phone lit up like it had been waiting all day. Missed calls. Voicemails. Messages stacked on top of each other, urgency rising with each notification. I didn't listen. I didn't read. I turned the phone face down and let the silence hold. Because for the first time, I wasn't afraid of what would happen if I stopped paying. I was afraid of what would happen if I didn't. The knocking started the next morning. Not polite. Not hesitant. It was sharp, insistent. The sound of someone who believed the door would open because it always had. I was in the kitchen pouring cereal when I heard it. Ryan looked up from tying his shoes, his expression changing before I even moved. "That's them," he said quietly. My heart didn't race the way I expected it to. It slowed, heavy, deliberate, like it had been waiting for this moment. The knocking didn't stop. Then came the sound that settled into my bones. Metal against metal. A key turning in the lock. The door jolted forward, caught short by the chain with a sharp, final clink. Whoever was on the other side tugged once. Twice. Silence. Then my father's voice, flat and irritated. "Emma, open the door." Ryan stepped forward, placing himself just behind me. Not blocking, not leading. Present. "I've got it," I said. I walked to the door and opened it just enough for the chain to hold. Cold morning air slipped in, carrying the faint smell of coffee and impatience. My parents stood there, smaller than I remembered. Tired. Not sorry. My mom held a paper bag like a peace offering. My dad's jaw was set, his eyes already scanning past me, searching for control. "Why did you stop the payment?" he asked, skipping every possible courtesy. "No good morning," I replied. "This isn't a joke," he snapped. "You embarrassed us." I let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. "You lied to me." My mom's mouth tightened. "We didn't lie. Things are just complicated." "Complicated doesn't include bounce houses and entertainers," I said evenly. "You said money was tight." My dad shifted, annoyed. "That party wasn't expensive. Lydia needed help. And my son didn't." The words surprised me with how steady they were. My mom's voice softened, that familiar tremble she used when she wanted pity. "Honey, it was just bad timing." "Bad timing is traffic," I said. "This was a choice." My dad's patience cracked. "You're blowing this out of proportion." Ryan spoke then, calm but firm. "She's not." My father's eyes flicked to him, irritation flashing. "This is family business." "It stopped being private when you used her money," Ryan replied. For a moment, no one spoke. Then my dad straightened, reclaiming the tone I'd grown up under. "After everything we've done for you, this is how you act?" I felt something inside me click into place. "Everything you've done for me?" I repeated. "You mean raising me? Feeding me? That wasn't a favor. That was your job." My mom gasped softly. "Emma!" "No," I said. "I'm done cushioning this." My hands were shaking now, but I didn't hide them. "You took my money every month. You let me believe you were struggling while spending freely on my sister's kids. And then you skipped my son's birthday." My dad scoffed. "He's a kid. He won't remember." I stared at him. He asked me if he did something wrong. That landed. Not hard enough to stop them, but hard enough to register. My mom looked away. My dad exhaled sharply. "You're acting like money is all that matters." "No," I said. "I'm acting like honesty does." He stepped closer, testing the chain. "You can't just cut us off. We're your parents." "I didn't cut you off," I replied. "I stopped paying." "That's the same thing," he shot back. "No," I said quietly. "It's not." My mom lifted the bag in her hands. "We brought muffins." "Noah's favorite." Ryan shook his head. "We're good." Her eyes widened slightly. She hadn't expected resistance from him. My dad's voice dropped, dangerous now. "If you keep this up, there will be consequences." I didn't blink. "Like what?" He hesitated. Then, with a thin smile, "We'll see who benefits from the will." There it was. The last card. I surprised myself by laughing. Not loudly. Just once. "You already chose," I said. "You just never thought I'd notice." My mom's voice cracked. "This is tearing the family apart." "It was already torn," I replied. "I just stopped pretending it wasn't." Silence stretched between us. Finally, my dad shook his head. "You're being unreasonable." "Then this conversation is over," I said. I closed the door. Not slammed. Not rushed. Just closed. The chain rattled softly as it settled back into place. Ryan wrapped an arm around me as the sound of their footsteps faded down the walk. "You okay?" he asked. I leaned back against the door, breathing out slowly. "Not yet," I said. "But I will be." I didn't hear from my parents for 2 days. Not a call. Not a message. At first, the quiet felt suspicious, like the pause before a storm. I kept my phone close, half expecting it to light up with something sharp and unforgiving. Instead, the storm came from everywhere else. It started with my aunt. "Your mother is beside herself," she wrote. "I don't know what's gotten into you." I read it once, then again. Then I set the phone down without responding. By noon, there were more. a cousin I barely spoke to, a family friend who'd watched me grow up. Even my old high school teacher, somehow looped into the narrative. The message was always the same, only the wording changed. They did their best. Families help each other. You'll regret this when it's too late. None of them asked what happened. They already knew, because they'd been told. Ryan watched me as I scrolled, my thumb slowing with every new notification. You don't owe anyone an explanation, he said. I know, I replied, but it still hurts. That part was the truth no boundary could erase. Later that afternoon, Noah came home with a folded paper in his backpack. He placed it on the counter carefully, like it might break. What's this? I asked. He shrugged. Grandma dropped it off at school. I unfolded it. A card. Bright balloons on the front. Inside, neat handwriting. We love you very much. Grandma and Grandpa. No apology. No acknowledgement. Just love, offered like a bandage without cleaning the wound. Noah watched my face. Did I do something bad? My chest tightened. No, sweetheart. Why would you think that? Because Grandma didn't come to my party, he said softly. And now she sent this instead. I knelt in front of him, meeting his eyes. Sometimes grown-ups make mistakes, and sometimes they don't fix them right away. He nodded, accepting that answer in the way only children can, without resentment, but with quiet understanding. That night, after Noah was asleep, I posted something online. Not a rant, not a story, just a sentence. Boundaries aren't punishment. They're protection. I didn't tag anyone. I didn't explain. Within minutes, the reactions came. Likes from people who'd lived it. Silence from people who hadn't. And then my mother's comment. Families shouldn't need boundaries. I stared at the screen, heart pounding. Ryan leaned over my shoulder. You don't have to engage. I know, I said. And for the first time, I meant it. I didn't reply. The comment stayed there, floating like a challenge. A test. The next morning, I woke up to a voicemail from my dad. His voice was calm. Too calm. Emma, this has gone far enough. Your mother hasn't been sleeping. People are asking questions. You need to fix this. Fix this. As if the damage had started with me. I deleted the voicemail. That afternoon, a package arrived at our door. No return address. Inside was an old photo album. My childhood. Birthdays. Holidays. Smiles that looked real until you knew better. Tucked inside the front cover was a sticky note. Remember who you are. I closed the album gently. I do, I whispered. That's the problem. Ryan found me later sitting on the couch. Album closed, untouched beside me. They're trying to rewrite the story, he said. I know, I replied. They always do. But you're not playing, he said. No, I agreed. I'm not. That evening, Noah asked if he could invite a friend over for dinner. Just one. I said yes without hesitation. As I watched him laugh at the table, sharing jokes and spilling juice, something shifted. This was family. Not blood, not obligation. Presence. Later, I blocked my parents' numbers. Just for now. I told myself. Not forever. Just until I could breathe without flinching. As I placed my phone face down on the nightstand, the house felt lighter. Quieter in a way that didn't ache. For the first time, silence wasn't abandonment. It was space. Weeks passed. No calls. No messages. No parade of guilt. It was strange at first. Almost empty. But the quiet had a rhythm now. Not suffocating. Not tense. Safe. Ryan and I spent weekends looking at houses. Neighborhoods with trees that promised summer shade. Rooms bright enough for Noah's laughter to fill. Spaces that could hold memories of our choosing, not dictated by someone else's selfish needs. One Friday we found it. A small yellow house with a lemon tree out front. The kind that made you imagine sunlight pooling across the kitchen floor in the morning. Noah ran ahead, pointing to every corner. Mom, look at this room. And this tree. Ryan and I followed, hands brushing, smiles quiet but real. This one, he asked gently. I looked at Noah, his eyes sparkling with wonder, and nodded. Yes, this one is ours. Signing the papers felt like exhaling after holding my breath for years. Every number, every initial, every corner of the contract was a marker of independence. A freedom I hadn't realized I'd been starving for. We moved in slowly. Noah helped unpack his room first, insisting every Lego, every book, every small treasure had its place. Ryan painted the sunroom bright blue, the kind of color that made mornings feel like a promise. I planted carrot seeds in the garden, dirt under my nails, sunshine on my shoulders. One afternoon, Noah held up a tiny green lemon from the tree. "Keep it, Mom. For luck," he said. I tucked it into my pocket, heavy, real alive. That night, the first quiet evening in our new house, I sat on the porch swing with Ryan beside me. The scent of lemons and fresh paint mingled in the air. Noah slept soundly inside, dreaming of towers and trees and sunlit rooms. For the first time, I didn't feel trapped behind anyone's expectations, behind anyone's lies. There was a knock at the door later that week. Slow, tired, familiar. My heart slowed, not because I feared them, but because I knew what this moment represented. I looked at Ryan. "I'll handle it," I said. I opened the door, just enough to see them standing there. Exhausted, not proud, not ready to demand. Just small. My parents, Laura, and her twins. They looked like strangers passing through someone else's life. "We didn't have anywhere else to go," my father started. "The storage unit, the daycare." I stepped aside. "You know why you're here," I said softly. My mom's eyes glistened, but there was no anger, no expectation, only the exhaustion of someone who had tried for too long to bend the world to their will. I didn't step forward. I didn't offer help. Compassion and boundaries had finally found balance. Ryan stood beside me, not between, just beside. Ready, steady. Laura's eyes flicked to me. "You don't understand." "I do," I said. "I understand exactly what it's like to survive alone, to make yourself small so someone else can stand tall. But I'm not opening that door anymore. Not for guilt. Not for lies." My mom's lips trembled. "The kids, they'll be okay," I said. "I can suggest a shelter if needed. Otherwise, they have to find a safe space themselves." No one moved. The air felt like winter sunlight, sharp, cold, but clear. Finally, my parents turned and left. Not shouting, not slamming doors, just quiet. The car pulling away felt like a statement of finality, not vengeance. I closed the door, sliding the chain back into place. Inside, Ryan wrapped an arm around me. "You okay?" he asked. I nodded. "Yes. For the first time in years, I feel steady." That night, Noah drew a picture of us under a lemon tree. 3 stick figures, smiles crooked but perfect. "This is us," he said. I tucked it into a frame by the kitchen window. "Yes, it is," I whispered. For the first time, our family wasn't about who owed what, or who lied, or who took. It was about presence, about choice, about love without condition. The lemons on the tree glowed faintly in the evening sun. I ran my hand along the rough bark, feeling the life pulsing beneath. Sometimes peace arrives quietly. Sometimes it's found in paperwork, in small acts of self-respect, in doors locked gently but firmly. Noah slept peacefully. Ryan painted in the sunroom again. I wrote, quietly, about calm, about laughter, about the first real freedom I'd ever known. And as night fell, I listened to the soft hum of the refrigerator, the whisper of leaves outside, and the quiet heartbeat of a house that was finally ours. Silence no longer scared me. It protected me. It reminded me that love could be chosen, not demanded, that boundaries were not punishment, but armor, and that at last I could breathe.